Alright, video number 4 for chapter 5. And we are going to start right here. Hester Prynne, therefore, did not flee. On the outskirts of the town, within the verge of the peninsula, but not in close vicinity to any other habitation, there was a small thatched cottage. It had been built by an earlier settler and abandoned because the soil about it was too sterile for cultivation, while its comparative remoteness put it out of the sphere of the social activity, which already marked the habits of the immigrants. It stood on the shore, looking across the basin of the sea at the forest-covered hills, towards the west. A clump of scrubby trees, such as alone grew on the peninsula, did not so much conceal the cottage from view, as seemed to denote that here was some object which would fain have been, or at least ought to be, concealed. In this little lonesome dwelling, with some slender means that she possessed, and by the license of the magistrates who still kept an inquisitorial watch over her, Hester established herself with her infant child. A mystic shadow of suspicion immediately attached itself to the spot. Children, too young to comprehend wherefore this woman should be shut out from the sphere of human charities, would creep nigh enough to behold her plying her needle at the cottage window, or standing in the doorway, or laboring in her little garden, or coming forth along the pathway that led townward, and, discerning the scarlet letter on her breast, would scamper off with a strange, contagious fear. So, what she does is, Hester, she basically lives on the outskirts of town, right? She's living beyond society. So, remember we talked about that threshold where one side is the, society, and on the other side is nature, right? Hester Prynne lives right on the verge. She lives on that threshold between society and nature, okay? And you're going to see Hester Prynne throughout the story bouncing back between these two realms. Is she in society, or is she living part of nature, okay? And we as human beings struggle with this, right? Are we to adhere to the laws? Are we to adhere to the laws of society, or adhere to our bodily instincts, right? And then a lot of this comes into conflict. And it's never quite an easy question to ask, right? I mean, we look at homosexual, gay marriage, and we're saying like, well, the law, some parts of the law says you can't be gay, and you can't marry another gay person. But yet our nature says we can be gay, and we should be within the confines of marriage, right? And so it straddles these two things, these two ideas of society and nature, and that's where Hester's going to kind of struggle with, okay? All right, let's move on.